Let's get to last week's scores. Start off with my Warriors of Babylon taking on Jeffrey Hezekiah, Golden Bombs, Hamilton Square Possum. And my team loses once again, 141-93. The good news is I did have about 111 points on my bench between Tony Romo, 49ers defense, and Ruben Randall. Where Jeff had 141 points on his starting roster. Jeff got 29 points out of Dez Bryant, 23 points out of Sam Bradford, and 20 points out of Pierre Thomas. Great pickup there, Jeff. Where my starting roster, I was able to get 26 points out of Vernon Davis, 12 points out of Michael Vick, and 18 points out of the Rams defense. What can I tell you guys? My team stinks on ice, and there's a fire sale going on, so you guys make me some offers, wow me. My team is atrocious. Worst team I could imagine. I don't know what the hell I was thinking when I put this team together. I don't know what I was thinking when I made some trades, and I certainly don't know what I was thinking when I'm setting rosters. I am done this year, and I am looking forward to the playoffs to see which one of you prevails, because one of you has an unbelievable team, and that is John Moore's Downingtown Destroyers, that took on Kenny Long's Gladiators and beat them 90-87 in a very close, tight fit battle. John got 16 points out of Colin Kaepernick, 16 points out of Stephen Hauschka, and 14 points out of LaShawn McCoy, where Kenny got 23 points out of Aaron Rodgers, 21 out of Fred Jackson, and 12 out of the Seattle Seahawks defense. In another great match from this past week, you saw Brian Sheehan's 1 gram equals a pound take on Little Bobby Crane's Julius Jones, and he beat him 105-82. Once again, Brian is on a roll. He gets another great game out of Jimmy Graham for 18 points, 28 points out of Phillip Rivers, and 15 points out of Marshawn Lynch, where Bobby got 22 points out of Drew Brees, 15 points out of Mike Wallace, and 12 points out of Eric Decker. Matt Dreyfus took on Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's Asgardian Thunder Gods and lost 90-85. Chris got 25 points out of Andrew Luck, 22 points out of Jamal Charles, and 14 points out of his Miami Dolphin defense. Where once again, when Victor Cruz doesn't come through big for Matt, who didn't this week, he wound up getting 17 points out of Torrey Smith, 17 points out of Chris Johnson, and 18 points out of his kicker, Justin Tucker. Mike Bonds, East Fall Jedi, took on Greg Long's Get Work Done. And Greg wins this one, another dominating win by this kid. Greg wins this one 165-94. Greg got 46 points out of Peyton Manning, 35 points out of James Jones, and 22 points out of the Kansas City Chiefs defense, where Mike got 24 points out of Matt Ryan, 22 out of the Cleveland Browns defense, and 16 out of his kicker, Garrett Hartley. And in the last match, we have Jeff Saminsky's Paper Tiger going out to Woodbury Wankers and taking them on and beating them 129-99. Jeff received 24 points out of Deshaun Jackson, 29 points out of his tight end, Julius Thomas, who really was one of the best free agent pickups before the season started, and 17 points out of Matt Stafford. Where Anthony received 23 points out of his tight end, Jason Witten, 19 points out of Hakeem Nicks, and 19 points out of his newly acquired running back, Ray Rice. So Jeff's done very well this year, making some serious trades. He turns around and he trades Monte Ball to Matt Dreyfus for Deshaun Jackson, and it turns out he's got one of the best receivers in football. Then he trades away his first-round pick to Mike Bond, basically swapping first-round picks in Ray Rice and C.J. Spiller, Bond getting C.J. Spiller and Jeff getting Ray Rice. And before he could even use Ray Rice, he turns around and swaps him again, this time to Anthony Parisi for Matt Forte. this week it seemed like a pretty even swap, but I think Jeff definitely got the better of this deal getting Forte. I think Forte is going to have a nice season for him the whole way out, where Rice has been up and down, pretty inconsistent for this season. So, guys, I alluded to it before. My team stinks. I'm embarrassed by what I've been doing. This week's even worse. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have no running backs. I have no receivers. It's just a brutal season for me. Then I have this debacle of not starting Tony Romo last week. But I'm alive, and I'm not going to let it bother me because I'm enjoying this competition. I'm looking at John Moore's team. I think they're great. I think Greg Long's team's great. Anthony, I wish that that move that he made there kind of... But Jeff's team's solid. Kenny's team, even though taking a loss this past week, another solid team. Sheehan's team, obviously. I really think it's, at this point, there's about 4 of you guys who can win it. I'm out. Bond's out. Jeff Araya, even though you won this past week, he's out. So, I think that all 3 members of the Longs are going to make the playoffs. I think that Sheehan's going to make the playoffs. I think Moore's going to make the playoffs. And I think that last spot's probably going to be Szymanski. But we'll see. But it should be interesting. I definitely think that everybody should be fearing the Greg Long team. That's one solid team, boy. Wow. And so Sheehan's. But anyway, let's get to this coming week's set of games, and let's see where we go from there. So, like I was saying, this season isn't as painful on me as it would have been had I not won last year. So it's kind of like that not hangover, that reprieve I get for winning it. Now next year, like I've said in the past, it's going to be a whole different story. I've already started working on mock drafts, different strategies, knowing where I made some mistakes. Wouldn't be making some trades. I definitely would draft Jimmy Graham very high. It's brutal. But anyway, let's get to this coming week. And this coming week, again, I'm going to take a beating. I'm taking on Kenny Long's Gladiators. Oof, it's going to be nasty. I don't even get the break that his father got a couple weeks ago where he's got Aaron Rodgers on the bench. I will start Tony Romo this week. I don't know what else I'm going to try to do. It's going to be brutal. I'm going to probably lose this one by 50. I'm not even going to give that one that much thought. Another brutal match is going to be the Possums against Crane. Who knows? Either one of these teams is going to make the playoffs. I doubt it. I don't think either one of them are that good. This is the new honest part of me this year. Now that I'm out of it, I can just critique everybody. Sure, Jeff beat me last week. What the hell does that say? It doesn't say much. If I had the right players in place, I still probably would have lost because his team somehow mustered a lot of points. He actually made some good picks, getting Snelling in there. It was impressive, Jeff. We've got the father-in-law versus the son-in-law this week, which is the Downingtown Destroyers against Off in a Corner. John's team is just a strong friggin' team right now. He's got to be feeling good about himself. John, you know you are. I think that this is going to be a big week for you. I think you're going to basically end Matt's chances at the playoffs, or at least really seriously put a big doubt on them after this week. You've got Sheehan taking on the Eastfall Jedi and Mike Bond. This should be another big beating that Bond's going to take this week at the hands of Sheehan and that monster team he's put together. Between Robert Griffin at Dallas, there's no big scary thing there. Marshawn Lynch home against Tennessee. You've got, Jimmy Bond, you're going to be in for a tough loss this week. Then you got a good one here between Jeff Szymanski's Paper Tiger taking on Deputy Commissioner Chris Long. I think with all the additions that Jeff made via trades, he's made himself much more competitive, but I think I like Chris Long's team a little bit better this week. And then you've got this one. This one's just going to be ugly, and this is Kenny's team, Get Work Done, taking on Anthony Parisi's Woodbury Wankers. Peyton Manning home for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Holy shit, is that going to be ugly. I read somewhere that it is a 28-point spread right now for the Broncos are favored by Jacksonville. It is the highest point spread since the late 70s with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the expansion first-year Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me say that again. The point spread between the Denver Broncos and the Jacksonville Jaguars this week is the largest point spread since the Pittsburgh Steelers, the vaunted Pittsburgh Steelers, Terry Bradshaw, Stallworth, Lynn Swann, Franco Harris, that team took on the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their very first year. And guess what? The Steelers won it 41-3. It's going to be a similar game this week. Peyton Manning's going to explode. Damn, I wish I drafted him. I wish I drafted everybody differently. Can we just do the draft over? How about we just do the draft over this year? No? Hey, I'm League Commissioner. Bye.